Hi everyone, this is Paul Stewart from Segmented Solutions. This is our SaaS establishment video. It's going to take you through the detail. For example, the application forms, how to fill them in, when to email things, when to post things. It's going to go through every single step, every single document, talk you through the detail of setting up government gateways, becoming a scheme administrator. So for everyone who is thinking of establishing a SaaS with us, this is an important video. So I hope it's of some benefit, and let's get stuck in. To begin with, we have application forms, so we'll talk about what needs to be done, how they need to be filled in, and what needs to be emailed and what needs to be posted. We'll talk about the establishment deed. This is the thing that gives birth to the trust. Then we'll talk about the HMRC system and their request for information, and it's that part of the process that gives your trust its pension scheme status and all the tax benefits. Then we'll talk about opening a bank account for your SaaS, because you can't really do much without one. And then we'll talk about the administrator swap and our positioning as practitioners. So let's get stuck into the detail. First thing is, prior to the application forms, the sponsoring employer, the company that's going to decide to set up the SaaS, has to understand that there's a fee schedule involved. It needs to read it, understand it, be happy with it. It also needs to have the wherewithal to actually settle the fees. And a board minute is created by the company saying that it's decided to establish an occupational pension scheme, and that it's happy to establish it with segmented solutions, and it's happy with the fee schedule. So that starts right up front. And then you get into the application forms, and there's one for the sponsoring employer, that's the limited company, and we need details of the business that's going to be setting up the SaaS. And then we have a member application form, and there's one of those for each member. So if you've got a 4-member scheme, there'll be a board minute, a sponsoring employer application form, and 4 member application forms. Okay, so let's just quickly jump into more detail for the forms themselves. First things first, these are PDFs that you can type your answers into, and the preferred route is that you download and save the files, you open them and type all the answers in that way we're not going to mistake any handwriting or make any errors. And it's important that you email over the digital version, so don't type in it and then print it and then scan it and send it to us. We need you to type and send over what we call the live PDF. The member application form, which does need to be signed, after you've emailed us the digital copy, you can then print it, sign it, and stick that in the post. So don't forget, the application forms, most important. We need the typed versions, the live PDFs emailed to us, and then you follow it up with the member application form being printed and put in the post. Okay, ID needs to be certified. We need to check who we're dealing with, and we have a preferred route and the alternative route. And the important reason why we have the preferred route is because we're using the ID for setting up a Metro bank account as well as opening your SaaS. So once we've got a passport for each of the members, that is their identity certified and confirmed, we also need a proof of address, and in an ideal world, driving license fits the bill. But of course, if you don't have a driving license, things like a bank statement, etc., can be used, as long as everything is dated within the last 3 months. We prefer post office certification. We'll go into the reasons why a bit later on. So in terms of the ID, we need certified passport and certified proof of address, ideally a driving license. And if you're using the post office, there's a post office receipt page, which is an A4 page that is also needed. So if each member will require 3 things: the passport, driving license, and the post office receipt. And if there's 4 members, that's 12 things. Obviously, we talked about preferred route. There is an alternative, and this is the alternative, and that's using a professional like a solicitor or an accountant. The most important thing is that they get the wording absolutely correct. If the wording isn't correct, then Metro Bank sadly will turn it around and say, but you didn't say this, but you didn't say that. So copy and paste what you see on screen. It's also on the document that downloads that you can read and tell you all about the ID certification that's required. They also need their full name, and we've had issues in the past where people have written a shortened version of their full name, and of course the bank says, no, that's not correct. We need a proper signature, an original wet signature as they call it, as opposed to a digital file copied and pasted. We also need their qualification, the regulatory body that they're a member of, and their membership number, and this is so that the bank can look them up. And this is one of the biggest areas where time is wasted, going round and round in circles. It's because the bank can't find the certificating individual on any membership records, and we've had to go round and round and round. In the end, we gave up and went back to the post office. That's the biggest reason why we prefer the post office, because it's in, out, gets the job done, and once it's dealt with, you can get your bank account opened. Full address of the person doing the certification is required if you're going down this route, and the date, and that date must be within the past 3 months. The next thing is the establishing deed needs to be prepared. So what we do is we have all the application forms and paperwork, and from that we create a trust deed that creates the scheme. It doesn't give it the tax benefits, that comes from the Inland Revenue approving it. We prepare the deed and we prepare the establishing invoice. We send them both out to you, and it's up to you to decide whether to sit on that for a short space of time or whether you want to get cracking. And the trigger we have at our end is as soon as the invoice gets paid, we can then start pushing and opening up a system with HMRC to move information across. The establishing deed is an important document, and as such it needs to be signed and witnessed correctly. So the first thing you'll note is that the director of the sponsoring employer signs it to say that the company has agreed to establish the scheme. Then the next signature is the first member trustee saying, I'm happy to become a trustee of this pension scheme, and it could well be that that's the same person, so you might need to sign it twice. And then if there are additional member trustees, they all sign to say they're happy to be trustees. And it's important that every single member is a trustee, because that allows the pension scheme to not have to undergo full auditing on the books at the end of each year, which is a massive bonus. In terms of witnessing, each witness must be independent, not related to anyone by blood or marriage. It doesn't have to be a professional like an accountant or solicitor, as long as they're above the age of 18. So the establishing deed is signed and witnessed, and then you scan and email that over to us to say it's done, and you also put the original in the post because it's an integral part of the pension scheme. So that's the establishing deed preparation. And then we set about adding things to the HMRC system. So we put all of the sponsoring employer details, all the member details into the computer system at HMRC. And that's where accuracy is really important, and that's why we ask for the application forms to be typed into, because it's a lot easier to copy and paste from a digital PDF rather than trying to read handwriting where sometimes different digits can be mistaken for each other. It saves a lot of time. So although you sometimes have to put originals in the post, please make sure that we also get the live digital versions. It makes life a lot easier and a lot quicker all around. HMRC will then issue a submission receipt, which is an SRN number, and that comes through when we finish the process, and we'll email that over. So once we've got the signed deeds, we'll crack on and get everything uploaded to HMRC's system, and then we'll forward you the email confirming the SRN number. Next step is HMRC will write to us as the scheme administrators, and this is what we call the APSS 530 letter. Don't we just love jargon at HMRC? But it's a standard letter asking for the same information every time. And we reply same day via email. In fact, we don't need to wait for the letter to arrive. We log in and we see that the letter has been actioned by the computer system at their end. We know that we can then start to put the reply together. So we send out certified scheme rules, certified establishing deed, and again we copy you into both of those, and we then provide a covering letter with all of the requested information. So all of that goes off to HMRC, standard in every case, and we deal with that. That's the reason why we are the scheme administrators up front, because we can take care of all this stuff in the background for you. And how long we wait depends on how busy they are. Used to be a very long wait, now we're getting the wait down to a couple of weeks maximum, which is nice. We have had some turned around quite quickly. It's quite ironic, our personal best is 26.5 hours, which is quite amusing, but I don't think we're going to beat that again. So if all the information is correct, HMRC will update the system saying that the SAS is opened, and they'll change the SRN number into a PSTR number, which is a pension scheme's tax reference number, and they issue a certificate, which is the PSTR certificate. Effectively, it's a letter just confirming that the scheme has been given tax approval. However, if there are errors, for example, a national insurance number is wrong, or somebody hasn't updated their personal address with HMRC, then the scheme will be rejected. And until we get the letter confirming the rejection, we won't know the reasons why. And that can add another couple of weeks to the timeline. As soon as we get the letter confirming why, we can respond and we formally appeal. And that process is relatively straightforward. We just answer whatever it is that was incorrect, and then HMRC look at our appeal letter and get the scheme opened. To reassure you, we have 100% success in getting schemes opened with HMRC. The only failures have been minor administration errors, like one of the scheme members has got their national insurance number wrong, or they forgot to update HMRC with their home address that they've moved into in the last few years. So nothing too serious. Now you've got a SSAS and it's got its PSTR number, we can set about opening a Metro bank account, and that process takes about 24 to 36 hours, as long as all the information is correct and as long as the ID certification is acceptable, then it just goes through quite swiftly. On the application form, we pre-fill 99% of the form. All you've got to do is sign. So all the members and all the trustees, they sign on one page, and hopefully everything else has been completed. There might be additional information that you just need to top and tail, like what date did you move into your current house, those sorts of things. But we should be able to get a SSAS bank account open quite quickly. And it's really important you understand this is not a business account. It's not a personal account. It's run by a completely different department. So local Metro branches and anyone you're used to ringing won't be able to help you. SSAS accounts have only got viewing capabilities. You can't actually log in and go online and make transactions. And the reason for that is that a SSAS bank account, it's a requirement from the bank that every single member trustee signs. So if you've got 4 member trustees, you've got 4 signatures, plus there needs to be an independent third party. And in this case, that's Segmented Solutions acting as your administrator or practitioner. Some other companies operate as professional trustees, and they become the third party to sign. And this is to protect you and also to protect the bank from you making payments and those payments being unauthorized, in which there's tax charges, or worst case, you're actually making payments that were not very wise and you're being scammed. So really important you understand, although we're signatories to the bank account, we cannot make payments without everybody signing. So you do have ultimate control. In addition to that, the bank often make phone calls to you to double check the details. And even if we tried, we couldn't actually make any payments without your authority. Next stage is to swap the administrators. And when you first set up a SSAS, all of the members are trustees, and like I said before, that's important from the accounting perspective. But Segmented Solutions starts out as your scheme administrator during the establishment phase, and that's because we're well used to dealing with all the letters and requests for information from HMRC, so they write to us and we can deal with those. But we're not your professional trustee, we never are. We're just the administrators to begin with. And then one of the member trustees needs to be appointed as scheme administrator, and there's no ruling as to who it should be. It could be the eldest member, it could be the one who's deemed to be the main director at the sponsoring employer. It makes no difference as long as one individual is happy to be put forward. Segmented Solutions will then be appointed as practitioners to provide technical support to this new administrator. And we provide HMRC reporting each year, technical support, compliance and banking. Basically, we're here for the long term. If you're doing investments or want to move money around, you'll talk to us. We'll perhaps help you with things like VAT registration. If you're dealing with property, we'll liaise with solicitors and so on and so forth. So we're not just here to establish the SSAS, we're here to actually help you run it and drive it. So the first part of getting an administrator swapped over is for the individual to be selected. So somebody from the scheme will be chosen, and in this case I'm going to choose Mrs. Client. And Mrs. Client will need to set up a brand new government gateway, not linked with any other business or existing gateways. So it's important you start looking at this link on a clean browser with your cache removed so you don't end up accidentally logging into some other gateway. And the type of gateway you want is for a business and trust, so that's the type. and you're then going to want to add a tax or scheme. Obviously we're adding a scheme because the pension doesn't pay corporation tax, so we're not adding a tax. So you scroll to the bottom and select Other, and the other scheme that you're wanting to add is Manage and Register Pensions. And that's where you register as a scheme administrator. There'll be lots of different questions to confirm your identity and so on and so forth. But at the end of it, you'll have an administrator ID, which is a number starting with A200. And we need you to email us that ID number, as well as the full name that you used on the application. We've had a number of cases where customers have not put their middle name in or have put their middle name in. And we need to make sure it's absolutely accurate. Otherwise, the revenue will say, sorry, we don't recognize that person. And when you're asked about pensions knowledge, that's where you say no, and you say that Segmented Solutions Limited will be added as your practitioners to support your application. So the first step of swapping the administrators is for us to log in to appoint you. So we log into our system, our gateway, and we look up your pension scheme, and that's where we click on Invite a Scheme Administrator, and we put in Mrs. Client, Member Trustee as the name and the administrator ID, A200 1234. That then triggers an email out to Mrs. Client from HMRC saying that there is an invite pending, and she'll have to actually go and log in and deal with that. And that's the acceptance part. So again, Government Gateway, this time it's logging into the SSAS Gateway, and you're trying to check for Scheme Administrator invitations. And the way you do that is you log into the gateway, scroll down to the bottom where you'll see Managing Pension Schemes for Administrators, and you click on the Managing Pension Schemes link. And then from there, you remember to say no to pensions knowledge, and you put in Segmented Solutions as your practitioners with the details that are on screen here. You'll be asked for email address, postal address, and phone number. But please note, you're not actually appointing us at that stage. You're just telling the revenue that we will be appointed in due course. Once you've been appointed, the revenue will write asking for a whole bunch of additional bits of information, and that's where we start putting a pack together for you, and we'll email you 6 documents with full instructions. Each document will have a name, like document 1, document 2, document 3, and underneath each one there'll be full instructions as to what to do. 5 of the documents you can deal with at your end by printing, scanning, signing, and emailing back to us. The 6th document, however, is a special one. That is document number 6, the Deed of Appointment of Administrator. Because it's an integral part of your pension scheme, it needs to be dealt with properly and by post. So you need to print that off, have it signed and witnessed in the same way as the original establishing deed in terms of an independent witness. You'll then need to scan and email a copy to us for our records, but most importantly, put the original in the post, because we need to sign it too. And the original arrives, we need to sign it, we need to get it witnessed, and then we need to scan and send that back. The only reason we ask for you to put a copy, scan over to us whilst things are in the post, is if the post gets lost or damaged. So finally, once we've emailed you the fully signed and witnessed version of the Deed of Appointment, you can then print everything off and send it all to HMRC. And that's the reply dealt with. The final step is the practitioner appointment, and this is where you log into your gateway, and what you're trying to do is to find the Authorize a Scheme Practitioner link. And again, simple process. You log into your gateway, you scroll to the bottom to click on Managing Pension Schemes, you then find your pension scheme, and then you'll see the Authorized Practitioner link as shown on the screen here. Then you put in the details. Our practitioner name is Segmented Solutions Limited. The ID is 000-24676, and it'll ask you for a client reference, and you just say no. Once that's been done, you need to tell us that it's been done, because then we can log into our system and check to see whether we can find your pension scheme. Once we can see your pension scheme, then we know that your SSAS is 100% done. And that's it. That's the entire process from end to end, warts and all, the entire thing. Obviously, we're there to handhold you as we go through, but it's good for you to sit and listen and to go through the whole process so there's no surprises. And if you want to contact us, there's our email address, mobile number, website, Facebook page, Facebook group and YouTube channel. We've got all of the documents available for download from the website and the Facebook group. The Facebook page and YouTube channel also contains all the videos. So everything is available for you to watch and listen, and hopefully it's educational for you and gives you some ideas on your SSAS journey. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been an eye-opener in terms of the process, and we look forward to helping you out soon.